The Indiana Fever were supposed to be one of the biggest success stories in basketball this season. Instead, the entire franchise is sitting in the middle of absolute chaos. Fans are furious. Analysts are questioning coaching decisions. Attendance numbers are suddenly under the microscope. And now the loudest controversy of all is exploding across the WNBA landscape. Accusations that Caitlin Clark's stats are being manipulated in ways that directly affect betting markets and league history. That is a dangerous conversation for any league to have attached to its name. Because this isn't just about one missed assist. Fans believe this has become a pattern. And when the most marketable player in women's basketball repeatedly ends up on the wrong side of statistical controversy, people stop calling it coincidence. At the exact same time, Stephanie White is taking heat from every direction imaginable. The Fever are scoring over 100 points and still losing games. Defensive breakdowns are everywhere. Rotations are being questioned nightly. And the fanbase is starting to believe the coaching staff is actively limiting the team's biggest superstar instead of maximizing her. That combination is combustible. You have Caitlin Clark driving historic ratings, historic ticket sales, and historic media attention, while simultaneously dealing with criticism, controversy, and now gambling-related accusations tied to official stat keeping. And whether people like it or not, perception becomes reality in professional sports. The problem for the WNBA is that this story keeps growing because the evidence fans are pointing toward is easy to understand. Basketball fans know what an assist looks like. They know when a player creates a shot for a teammate. And when two obvious assists disappear from Caitlin Clark's stat line in the same game, the internet is going to erupt. Especially when that stat line directly affects double-double bets, historical milestones, and league records. That's where this stopped being a normal coaching debate and became a full-blown league controversy. Caitlin Clark has already become one of the most statistically impactful guards the WNBA has ever seen. That's not hype anymore. The numbers prove it. Her pace, passing angles, transition vision, and deep shooting gravity-force defenses to rotate in ways few players ever have. But against Indiana's opponent in this game, fans immediately noticed something strange. Two possessions that appeared to be obvious assists never appeared in the official box score. And that matters because Clark finished with 8 assists instead of 10. That difference changed everything. 10 assists means a double-double. 10 assists means another historic performance. 10 assists means another betting line cashes. 10 assists means another record attached to Caitlin Clark's name. Instead, the official stat sheet said 8.
Caitlin Clark was not credited with assists on either of these plays, leaving her 2 assists short of the 30th point, 10-assist game in WNBA history. It would have been her second such game, more than any player in WNBA history. How can we keep her down? How can we diminish her even more? We just won't let her enter the history books if we can help it.
The reason fans are so angry is because basketball assists are not subjective in these situations. If a player drives, collapses the defense, kicks to an open shooter, and the shooter immediately scores, that is almost always recorded as an assist, especially in today's game. That's why social media exploded when fans replayed the possessions frame by frame. The first missing assist involved Clark driving directly into the defense before kicking out to an open teammate for a clean shot. The second involved a dribble handoff sequence that stars around the league receive credit for constantly. Fans immediately started comparing Clark's stat treatment to established stars like Alyssa Thomas and others who routinely receive similar assists. And this is where the gambling conversation entered the picture. Sports betting has fundamentally changed how fans consume statistics. Every rebound, assist, turnover, and point now carries financial implications. That means official stat corrections are no longer viewed as harmless bookkeeping errors. They become trust issues. The WNBA absolutely cannot afford a growing belief that statistics involving its biggest star are inconsistent. Even the appearance of that problem creates massive public backlash. Because once fans believe numbers are being manipulated, every future box score becomes suspicious.
This wasn't considered an assist. Caitlin Clark driving, forcing the defense to collapse, kick out to Monique Billings, splash, not counted as an assist. That's almost as close to it is as textbook of an assist as you can possibly get. A teammate setting up another teammate. They don't need to move. They don't need to dribble. They don't need to create space. They just catch it and shoot it. Textbook assist.
Historically, leagues have always faced scrutiny over scorekeeping. The NBA has dealt with accusations of home-cooking stats for decades. Certain arenas became famous for inflating assists or rebounds for star players. But the Caitlin Clark situation feels different because she is already at the center of almost every major conversation surrounding the league. Ratings, attendance, merchandise, television contracts, media coverage, everything revolves around her impact. So when her statistics become controversial, the entire league gets pulled into the storm. At the same time the stat controversy exploded, Stephanie White's seat got dramatically hotter. Because the Fever are losing games they should not lose. There is simply no excuse for scoring over 100 points twice and still walking away with losses this early in the season. That is almost impossible for teams coached around defensive identity. And Stephanie White has always been viewed as a defensive-minded coach. That's why fans are so frustrated. Indiana isn't losing ugly low-scoring games. They're losing games where Caitlin Clark and the offense generate enough production to win comfortably, only for defensive collapses to erase everything.
Stephanie White's magnificent Fever defense. The Fever are the 8th team in WNBA history to lose multiple games in one season in which they scored 100-plus points. They played just 3 games this year. The 8th team in WNBA history to lose multiple games in one season in which they scored 100 points. They've only played in 3 games this year. Twice they scored over 100. Twice they lost.
This is where coaching pressure becomes dangerous in professional sports. Once fans believe the coach is holding the team back, every rotation decision becomes controversial. Every substitution becomes personal. Every loss becomes confirmation. Fans were especially furious over moments where Clark appeared to lose rhythm after substitutions despite controlling the pace offensively. And the larger issue is psychological. Superstars want freedom. Great offensive players thrive on rhythm, tempo, and confidence. If players begin feeling restricted or disconnected from coaching philosophy, frustration spreads quickly through the locker room and the fanbase. We've seen this happen historically with elite guards across basketball. Sue Bird succeeded because Seattle empowered her decision-making. Diana Taurasi flourished because Phoenix built offensive trust around her creativity. Caitlin Clark plays with that same improvisational style. Limiting that style can completely disrupt offensive flow. And fans clearly believe that's happening. The attendance conversation only intensified those fears. Indiana Fever games became the hottest ticket in the league because of Clark's arrival. Sellout crowds became normal. National attention exploded. Merchandise numbers skyrocketed. So when attendance suddenly appears softer than expected, fans immediately connect it to frustration with coaching and organizational direction. That creates enormous pressure internally. Because ownership understands one thing above everything else. Caitlin Clark is the economic engine of the franchise.
For anyone who finally saw the light after last night's game, the resistance. We see it, we say it. Fire Stephanie White. This isn't just a team, it's a movement. And that movement is Caitlin Clark. She's got the motion. CC's got the motion. Status, to steal a phrase from one of our rivals, unapologetic.
This situation goes way beyond basketball now. The WNBA is entering one of the most financially important eras in league history. Television negotiations, expansion conversations, sponsorship growth, streaming value, all of it is connected to sustained audience growth. And Caitlin Clark is currently the league's biggest audience driver by an overwhelming margin. That's not opinion, that's measurable reality. Highlight numbers explode when she plays. Arenas fill when she visits. National debate follows every performance. Even opposing fan bases tune in specifically to watch her. That means the Fever and the WNBA have almost no margin for error in how they handle public perception surrounding her. If fans begin believing the coaching staff is mismanaging her, the organization is wasting her prime, or official stats are unreliable, the backlash becomes massive. And once trust disappears, rebuilding it becomes incredibly difficult. That's why the Fire Stephanie White movement gained so much momentum online so quickly. Fans don't see this as a normal rebuilding process anymore. They see a franchise risking the most important player the league has had in years. And in modern sports, fan pressure matters. Organizations track engagement, they track attendance, they track sentiment, they track social media reactions. If frustration continues growing while losses pile up, ownership may eventually feel forced to make changes simply to stabilize public confidence around the franchise. Because the worst possible outcome for Indiana would be allowing the perception to grow that Caitlin Clark's prime years are being wasted. That narrative destroys patience instantly. Right now, the Indiana Fever are standing at a crossroads. The stat controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark has created serious questions about league credibility. Stephanie White is facing the strongest criticism of her tenure, and fans are openly warning the organization that frustration is reaching a breaking point. But here's the biggest question of all. Is this simply early season overreaction, or are we watching the beginning of a major fracture between Caitlin Clark, the Fever fanbase, and the organization itself? And if Indiana keeps losing despite historic offensive production, how long before the pressure becomes impossible to ignore?